this is Dread from Epoch Builds. And in today's video topic, we're going to be talking about a unique item that has been under my radar for the past patch, and I haven't really gotten around to using it until now to its fullest potential. This pair of gloves has completely revolutionized the endgame for almost every minion build just because of one line of text. Jurla's Obsession is a very simple pair of gloves. It's on the Crusader Gauntlets base, which by itself is a huge advantage versus other pairs of unique gloves, as a lot of gloves are put on low bases as a form of balance, like Salt the Wounds on the crit chance base. So being on these is insanely strong as it is, and it also enables one of its defining features, which we will talk about later. Then for its unique modifiers, it has cold and lightning res, which aren't as useful, and we will get into the reason why later, but it also has adaptive spell damage. This is very rare, as not many items have just flat spell damage on them in a non-weapon slot, so this is one of the rare few items that actually boasts it. But of course, the last modifier stance on this item also apply to your minions. What does this mean? Well, if the item has 45% void res on it, which it does, your minions will gain 45% void res. Simple, right? No, thanks to the nature of how it drops. Chronomancer Jurla's uniques are unique. In the way they drop, of course. They will always drop with at least one legendary potential, meaning that you can easily target farm them for a decent pair. It does have a very large variance on rolls, meaning you will need to farm a few to land what you want with the stats you want. But thanks to the last line of the item, this means it becomes a one-stop shop for all your minion needs. You need critical strike chance for your minions? Land T6 critical strike chance on one and boast 70% crit chance. That's a lot, by the way, in the minion world, as minion crit chance is few and far between, especially in Necromancer's case. You need cast speed for your build, and you're playing something like Summon Wraiths, which scales off of cast speed. Get T6 cast speed on them, and enjoy faster casting for you and your minions at the same time, which is absolutely mind-blowing. Bleeds and poisons killing your minions constantly. Add fizz or poison res to them, making your minions take at least 45% less damage from these sources with just one slot with normal rolls, and Exalted goes even crazier than this. After the rework, it's a lot harder to get increased minion health regen, as now it's all been replaced with flat health regen, and there's not that much increased. But Jurla's Obsession is one of the easiest ways of getting increased health regen for your minions now. So these gloves got you in that situation too. And the list just goes on and on and on. But there is something that makes these gloves even stronger than ever than since we first saw them. It's the implicit. Void res for your minions is very, very hard to come by. And it's just right there. It's for free. Right there. Literally on the item. T4 Jurla is notoriously bad for most minion builds, unless you're abusing stationary wraiths, insane bulk of abomination, or the obscene amounts of damage output of manifest armor. It means you need to work hard to allow your minions survive Jurla's death beams, the little void beams that like circle around her, which are of course void damage. Jurla's Obsession gives you 45% void res for free with a good pair, and you can get 20% minion all res from Reign of Dragons, meaning you can take up to 65% less void damage and all the way up to 75% if you get lucky, and just from one item and blessing alone, meaning minions with great sustain went from dying to T4 Jurla beams to just surviving them. As long as you're not standing directly in the middle of the beams or constantly taking the dot, and you're just taking like a few seconds of the dot on the outside, like in one of the sides of the arena, you can make your minions barely take any void damage over time, allowing them to simply out-tank T4 Jurla. Absolutely insane piece of tech. The gloves have been under my radar sadly for a while, And I'm finally getting around to start utilizing them in a bunch of builds. Like, for instance, in this video, you've probably seen Cold Projectile Necromancer, which utilizes these gloves, and also Forge Minions 2.0. I didn't even think Forge Minions 2.0 was going to be able to farm T4 Jurla until I started using Jurla's Obsession. And that completely changed the whole situation. You go from not being able to do T4 Jurla at all to being able to do a T4 Jurla in about 2 minutes, which is respectable for a build that isn't using that much stuff. One problem I do have with them is since they have cold and lightning res, they give no inherent defense versus the Soulfire Bastion. So either you need to drop a 2 LP pair of them, which is nigh impossible with how they're set up. Remember, it always drops with at least 1 LP and is super rare to drop with anything more than that. The only thing I've ever dropped in my time of doing T4 Jurla is a 2 LP Somnia, and that's like the T1 drop. So it's, I think T2 drop. And I've never seen anything other than that. I think I've seen 1 T2 ring, and that was from a friend of mine. And you just simply don't do T4 Soulfire Bastion if you don't have them, which sucks immensely. In theory, you could run Fire Res on a pair and simply try to have your minions tank the necrotic explosions, but there aren't many minions that fit that criteria that can also go without the glove slot, go without, the res. Like, it's really hard to justify that. And maybe one day I will find a minion build that is much better at farming T4 Soulfire Bastion. I mean, you could use Wraiths and just nuke them down. You could use Manifest Armor and nuke them down. You can use A-Bomb and just out-tank it all. But for all the normal minion builds, it's kind of really hard to do it because of that lack of necrotic and fire res. Now, hopefully, this gets, fixed with a few additions into the game. The toolbox of minion builds is a very strong item, and I hope this video has enlightened your view on them and what possibilities they can achieve in your minion build today. If you ended up learning something, I'd suggest leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel, as that's the best way to support my efforts here at Epoch Builds, and also the best way to tell YouTube that I am doing a good job with these videos and being entertaining and informative. With all that being said, this has been Dread from Epoch Builds, and I'm off to make more builds, probably using Jurla's Obsession.